Hey guys, Gavin here. Just took the family out to dinner. Met with some of the people here in Vegas. Had dinner with some of the legislators and stuff here, and we're just getting ready to head home. But I thought this was interesting. I wanted to introduce you to the largest criminal organization in the state of Nevada. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. This is the police agency that's 5,000 strong, abusing people across this state. And they're an army. There's no accountability. Even among people that are in politics here, these guys are known as they can do what they want, right? And they have this huge army of just this agency. They say is about 5,000 people. It says Crime Stoppers, but to stop crime, they would have to stop themselves. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. Here's Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. There's another one over there parked in front of Dave & Buster's, right? This private restaurant. Now, I went up to the security guard there earlier and I said, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's the cops doing here?" "Oh, they're providing security for us tonight." So get this, Metro Police are coming in. They get to park on the sidewalk and in the restricted parking zones. They're coming in here in their official capacity with all their bling and all their gear and their tough guyness, right? On their own time and working and getting paid at private establishments with all their equipment and everything that the taxpayers are paying for. Just protecting you, though, right? Just keeping it safe. And I said to the security guard at the door, I said, you understand that this is a terrorist organization, right, in here? And he didn't know quite how to deal with that. But what's interesting and sad is first of all, it raises the issue of why are these guys out here in government vehicles working a private security job? Now, of course, an officer has a right to work a private job on the side, but do you really want them? Do they get police privileges? Do they get to park in the restricted zones? Do they get to bring all the equipment and use the government's gas to do that? Is that right? But I have a bigger problem. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department are terrorists. They constantly abuse people. They're universally oath breakers. They take people in the lawless courts into courtrooms that have no due process. Okay, they're down here allowing the Bundys to be imprisoned. They're down here, and this agency was the one that allowed the feds to operate at the Bundy Ranch. And here is the people of America. And we keep saying, "Oh, I'm gonna stand with the police," right? And I say, no, I don't hate my neighbor. That's why I'm not going to stand with the police, because the police are all abusing the neighbor. Why? Am I generalizing? People say, "Gavin, you're generalizing. No, I'm actually not generalizing. The reason every one of these officers is an oath breaker is because the criminals are the officers. The criminals are the judges. Every case in every courtroom in America now is a violation of due process in our Constitution. Every time they make an arrest now, because of the way the system's been set up and the way the courts are all lawless, the way you don't get representation according to the Constitution, evidence according to the Constitution, a jury trial according to the Constitution, the way that the due process is violated in every way, in every courtroom, in every trial, means that all the trials are false trials. They're all kangaroo courts. To uphold their oath, the officers would have to go into the courtrooms and arrest the judges. But what are they doing? Who's guarding you while you get a kangaroo court? Who's guarding you in jails? Who's hauling you in and transporting you to prison? Who's holding Joe Robertson, Schaefer Cox, Jeff Winehouse, the Hammonds, the Bundys, Pete Santilli? Who has all these people locked in there? Are the judges terrorists and corrupt? Of course. Who are the guys holding a gun to our head to make sure the innocent prisoners stay caged? What does it mean to have law? To have law, you have to love your neighbor as yourself. You can't abuse the rights of your fellow man. That's the fundamental nature of law. And so here we're walking around, in this mall area. It's all pretty here and everything glimmers and shines and it seems orderly, right? But you know what I saw? You know what I saw when I walked into this mall and I walked up to that restaurant? I saw criminals watching over us. I walked up to Dave & Buster's and I thought, wait a minute, why is the largest criminal organization in Nevada outside the door of this restaurant? I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere else. I don't want to deal with that. And so we went somewhere else. What is the law? Love your neighbor as yourself, life, liberty, and property. And so here you have all this stuff going on. Look at this. Look at this. Metro has their police bike just parked on the sidewalk here, using government property, out here making a little extra money on the side. Now, sure, everyone should be able to feed their family, but here's the thing. It's never enough. It's never enough to say I'm just doing my job. There's one of two things happening. You're doing right, or you're doing wrong. You're loving your neighbor, or you're not. That's the one of two things that are always happening, folks. And so whether it's your county sheriff who won't stand up because none of them are doing it, or the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, we don't have oath-keeping sheriffs in this country. We don't have them standing up. We don't have people honoring their oath. We have a constitutional sheriff's organization, but we have none of them actually following the Constitution. Why? Because if they were, and I've talked to them all the time, if you're a police officer and you truly honor your oath, you'll either be dead, fired, imprisoned, or you'll quit. Because you know what a constitutional sheriff looks like tomorrow morning? He's walking into a courtroom, not simply not to violate the Constitution, but to defend it. Any constitutional officer in this country is walking into a courtroom tomorrow morning, and he's dragging a lawless judge from the bench. He's arresting his fellow officers that arrest people for possession of things, that arrest people for victimless crimes. He's arresting those judges and those prosecutors that are charging people with crimes with no habeas corpus, with no victim. See, this is the thing. It's not about hating cops, because I love them too, and I say this to them because I'm speaking the truth in love. The police, bad things are coming. Not from me, not because of my hate, but because we're bordering on a French Revolution. They keep abusing people, and the consequences for that are always grave. And so I'm speaking the truth, as I have been for years, to police officers because I love them. Not with a fake love that pretends they're a hero, that pretends they're helping people as they abuse their communities and destroy this country on behalf of corrupt politicians and sleeping people. Not as they promote pageantry and parades and fake security and enforce lawless laws that openly violate the Constitution. I keep seeing patriots, so-called, liberty lovers, so-called, and they're saying, "Oh, Gavin, I don't support you anymore. You hate cops." I love the cops more than you do, because I'm willing to tell them the truth. Now that's loving. So don't hate. Don't hate anybody. Don't hate, but don't tolerate the evil either. If you love your neighbor, you speak the truth to them. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you have a 2-year-old, right? And you have a fire. And that 2-year-old wants to put his hand in the fire. Now, what's more loving? To tell the 2-year-old, no, hot. Or to say, no, he wants to do that. It would be cruel of me not to let him. You see, when you have a family member or a friend or a colleague that abuses people for a living, which is what the police in America have now become. When you have a judge and his job is to violate due process. When you don't tell those people that they're wicked. When you don't tell the sinner and warn him of his sin, you hate them. Or at the very least, you don't love them. See, what I do to my neighbor, patriots and friends, and those of you who rail on me because you think I hate, I don't hate. I love you all. I'm burning up because of all the evil and all the people in prisons, all the people put away without due process, and the Bundys and Lavoie. Aren't you sad? Aren't you heartbroken? Aren't you tired of the evil and the suffering and the abuse of your fellow man? Even as the churches say, support the government, as they say, we follow Christ, but we will not love our neighbor, we will not love God, we will not defend the innocent, the weak, the fatherless, and the widow. We will be an abomination to God instead by justifying the wicked. Folks, I want to make America great again, but you're not going to do it at the ballot box. You're going to have to stand up The men are going to have to start leading your households and being principled and honoring the truth and having the courage and the passion and the love to do what's right. See, when you don't stand up for the liberty of your children, you're not loving them. You're cowering. When you tell them to submit to lawless authority that has no authority in our Constitution, in natural law, or in God's law, you're not loving your children. You're cowering. When you go out here and you tell the abusers of mankind and the police across our country, you're a hero and you're serving people, even as they drag children out of the arms of their parents, like is happening in Washington and all over the country, as they show up with the CPS agents to destroy your family and their life, as they lock you in prisons on false charges. Who's the SS in America, folks? Who's the ones that are actually committing the acts of terror in America? Who kills over 1,000 people per year on our streets, slaughtering us in unprecedented proportions? Well, not unprecedented compared to the millions we kill in the name of law that are unborn. See, everybody has their life, their liberty, and their property, and you don't get to tell them otherwise, because you know what? God gave them that. And the atheist says to me, Gavin, God didn't give me my liberty. I don't believe in God. And I'm like, well, man, do you believe you have your life? Do you believe you have your liberty and your property? And he says, well, yeah. And I say, well, okay, then let's walk together. And when the bullets start flying, we'll talk about Jesus. But the pastors, then they come to me. The secular church, even the conservative church, they come to me and they say, Gavin, you're talking about all this hate against government. And I say, well, it's not hate. It's just I'm speaking the truth. And they say, no, you got to be preaching John 3:16. You got to be preaching the gospel. And I say, you know what? You take a sliver of God's word and you call that the gospel. And what does Jesus say? He says, it's all fulfilled in this: love God and love your neighbor as yourself. See, the church isn't preaching the gospel. If the church was preaching the gospel, they'd be out here with me, and we'd be standing up together, and we'd be telling those officers, you need to stop abusing people. We'd be standing up together, and we'd be speaking against the abortion and the abuse and the prison systems and the justice system and the judges. We'd be standing up, and we'd be loving our neighbor as ourselves, like I'm doing out here right now. You've got to love your neighbor. This isn't about hate. It's about a revolution of the heart. Right here. Your voice and your words have power, and when you don't speak out, whether you're an everyday, ordinary civilian or whether you're a famous politician, if you don't speak out with whatever voice you've been given, if you don't take those talents that you've been given, if you bury them in the ground instead of standing up and doing what's right with them, you're not loving your neighbor. You're not loving Jesus. You're not loving God. You're not loving your children. You're not loving the cops. So here's my message for police. I love you guys. I don't want to see what's coming on you for your abuse of your fellow man. I don't want to see us all suffer as the country goes down in flames. I want you to come over here with me. Stop abusing people for a paycheck. You can't help them inside our corrupted system. I want you to come over here with me, officers. And let's get together with everyone else, the blacks and the Hispanics and the Native Americans and the whites, and let's set aside all the faction and stop making excuses for blue lines or for parties or for groups. Let's stand up for liberty and justice for all. Let's love our neighbor as ourself. So hello to you all. I see your comments there, and I just wanted to say that. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I want to go home. I think I mean that in more ways than one. But I'm gonna stick it out here for a while, and we'll keep standing up, and I hope you'll join me. Let's go out and love our neighbor as ourselves by being truthful and honest and bold. That's where it's at. Keep up the fight. Take care, guys. Have a good night.